Well, I guess it depends on where the discrimination is coming from. If they are institutional, things like schools, workplace, and things like that, obviously, a report needs to be made to whichever department is concerned with that. And it depends on really if these organizations are about, if they even care about it. Do they even have a HR that deals with these things? Is it an overtly, we have institutions, we have workplaces now that are tailor-made to certain tribes, certain religions and things, irrespective of what it is that you have in your head. So in that instance, it may be difficult to report to anybody, but I think documentation is important. We have groups that are concerned with things like this called that as a hijab rights initiative. I'm sure if you do a search on them, you can find how to make your presentations to them. But the first point of what, if it is institutional, then that's a bit easier to do by just making a report, documenting the incidents. If it is a bit subtle, like verbal, and has to do with the individual to individual, it depends on if the individual wants to learn anyway. It depends on if the individual understands or wants to have a conversation around it. If they are curious about what it is that makes you who you are, why you, for instance, wear the hijab or grow a beard or have to pray 5 times, and they are willing to learn, then it's important that you share that information with them. The information has to be such that it is at their level of understanding. It's not at the point where you're going to put them off by speaking Arabic or quoting verses that they've never heard before. Or pointing out, because you see, one of the beauties of Islam is that the examples, the resolutions to whatever problems you have, they are in scripture, but also in reality. When you talk about hijab, for instance, people come up with whataboutism, Also, if you permit the Muslim sisters to wear the hijab in their workplace, in their schools, then why don't you permit for instance, people come up with the Christian Celestials, are they allowed to also wear their sultanas to school? Are they allowed not to wear shoes and all of that, just to equate and want to also be part of that conversation? Yes, you can have that conversation saying, okay, is it prescribed anywhere in your books that this is what you should do? If it is not, then this is something that you've invented for yourselves. We don't have a choice in the matter. This is what is prescribed. This is where it is. It's not subject to interpretation or anyhow. It is what it is. Presenting that in a nice way or in a wise way to somebody who is willing to understand are those things that you can do. Hijab rights initiative is there. There's also Muslim rights Murik, and they've been active as long as I've known them. You can also make a report to them if it is institutional. Standing your ground is also presenting the facts as they are. Muslims are not terrorists because this is a religion of the middle course. Why? Because the Rasul never encouraged anybody to blow up anybody. Understanding that in scripture, there are interpretations to stuff. A line is taken out of context. There's usually a role. Somebody comes to you with a verse that says, oh, kill everybody if they are not Muslim. Tell him to read 5 verses before and 5 verses after to understand the context behind the statement. One other point is to understand that the Quran is not a linear book. It's not a book that ends in chapter 1 and then you go to chapter 2 and whatever it flows. It's a non-linear book. So sometimes you have things that are in the last chapter that refer to something in the first. It is infused with stories so that we can understand. Why? Because as human beings, we tend to, some of the stories you've heard as a child, you would never forget. And that's the reason why Allah in His wisdom has infused a lot of stories in the Quran to give us understanding. The Quran also comes to compare certain things with certain things so that it's for your understanding. And there are certain things that it says that we don't know about, that we are just finding out about. There are certain things it uses as similitudes for you to understand how things will be in the future. Good example, the other day I was thinking about when on the day of judgment, our feet and our hands are the things that are going to talk and not our mouths that are going to bear witness. So you think about technology and all that has happened, and it says that your book will be presented to you. I mean, right now we have people that have opened Instagram accounts for their children, and they've done this for as long as Instagram has existed. You find that those children can go back to that account and actually trace every milestone in their lives. Okay, so these are some of the things that we need to really think deeply about. But basically, it's also in creating a society that wants to engage, that wants to understand, that gives a damn about the human being. And okay, this is just my religion, and this is what my religion says. There are certain things that change, but there are certain things that are static, and we need to understand those things. So, as to create a methodology, if it's to codify it, it would be, understanding the situation, focus on facts and not emotion, make a report if it's institutional, but by all means, if it is important, if it is useful, beneficial, explain things in a clear and concise manner. Allah.